It seems like heaven was a little overcrowded. So St. Peter decided the only ones you're going to let in are people that had a very bad day on their last day. So the first guy comes in, St. Peter says, well, what happened? I suspected that my wife was cheating on me. I live on the 25th floor of a high-rise. I came home early one day. I rushed upstairs. I ran through the whole apartment, didn't find anything. I went out on the patio, and I see a guy hanging by his fingertips. I go and I grab a hammer. I hit him on the fingertips. He goes flying down, but he lands in the bushes. I'm not happy. So I go and I grab the refrigerator. I push the refrigerator over the edge. It goes flying down, and it kills him. But the refrigerator was so heavy, I had a heart attack and died. St. Peter calls in the next guy. He says, what happened to you? He said, I live on the 26th floor of a high-rise. I was outside doing my calisthenics when I slipped and went over the edge. Luckily, I grabbed on to the 25th floor. I'm hanging by my fingertips when some schmuck comes along and knocks me into the bushes. The next thing you know, there's a refrigerator coming down, and it comes down and kills me. Come on in. Next guy comes in. He says, tell me what happened to you. He says, picture this. I'm hiding naked in a refrigerator. Two widowers had been dating for a little while. They're out to dinner. He says, you know, there's something we never really discussed. She says, and that would be? He said, sex. She says, what about sex? He said, you know, how often? She said, infrequently. He said, is that one word or two? I'll let you think about that for a second. A cat shows up at the gates of heaven. St. Peter says, you've been a wonderful cat. What can we do to make your stay in heaven better? The cat says, you know, my whole life, I slept on hardwood or cement floors. If you could get me a nice pillow, that would be wonderful. St. Peter says, not a problem. We'll take care of it. A few days later, 6 mice show up at the gates of heaven. St. Peter says, you've been wonderful mice. What can we do to make your stay in heaven better? He says, well, you know, heaven's a very, very big place, and we have very, very short legs. If you could get us rollerblades, we could get around heaven a lot easier. St. Peter says, not a problem, we can do it. A couple of months go by. St. Peter is taking a walk through heaven, and he sees the cat. He says to the cat, so, how are things going? He says, oh, St. Peter, the pillow you got me is fantastic. And those Meals on Wheels. A pirate walks into a bar. The bartender takes one look at him and says, what the hell happened to you? He says, what do you mean? He says, what do I mean? What's with the hook? He said, oh, we had a fight with another ship. They came on board. We had a sword fight, cut my arm off, and now I have this hook. He says, wow. He says, and what about that peg leg? He says, oh, we had another fight with another ship, and they were shooting those, you know, the big, the guns and all that. Blew my leg off, but I got this peg leg, and I'm getting around okay. He said, what about the patch on your eye? He says, well, we were cruising around one day, and a flock of birds came by. And I looked up, and one of the birds shit right in my eye. He says, you don't lose an eye from shit. He says, yeah, It was my first day with the hook. So this man is going with an Italian girl. And she comes and she says, look, I'm pregnant. He says, look, you know that I'm married. I'm a respected man in my community. I'll take care of everything. If you would go back to Italy, have the child, raise the child, money is no object. Anything you need, I will take care of. She said, that's fine. He says, I'll start sending the money right away. She says, how will I let you know when the baby's born? He says, just send me a postcard with one word on the postcard, spaghetti. When I see the postcard, I'll start sending the money. Well, 9 months go by. He comes home from work one day. His wife says, you got a postcard? I can't figure this out. He says, let me see it. I'll explain it to you later. He takes a look at the postcard, and he faints. She picks up the postcard, and she reads it. Spaghetti, spaghetti, spaghetti. 2 with meatballs, 1 without. Send extra sauce. This young lady's grandfather passes away, and she goes to see her grandmother and said, Grandma, what happened to Papa? Says, Papa had a heart attack. He said, how? I saw Papa last week. He looked great. She says, well, we were having sex last Sunday. She says, you were having sex last Sunday? Papa's 91. You're 88. You still have... He says, every Sunday morning. You know, we lived across the street from the church, and the church bells would ring, and the rhythm of the church bells. Papa was in on the ding, out on the dong, in on the ding, out on the dong. He'd still be alive if that damn ice cream truck didn't come along.